UFC 193, November 14th from Australia. One of the competitors on that card, Steve Montgomery, training out of American Top Team right here, the home base in Coconut Creek, South Florida. What is it going to be like, UFC 193, going to Australia? Have you ever been to Australia before?
Yeah, man, it's just a big adventure and a big challenge, and I get the perfect tools to meet the challenge, whether it's the training, the mindset, and even just the tools to actually go to Australia. I have a great teammate coming with me 10 days early, got great coaches coming, 2 other teammates on the card, so our motto's been 3 bonuses and a belt that night.
Now, have you ever been to Australia? Is this your first time?
No, but as a kid, I loved going outside, and I pretended I was Steve Irwin all the time. And I know that's probably pretty typical of an American to say, but I was a diehard Steve Irwin fan. I used to buy books and different like atlases of Australia and just look at how it was. So it'll be really cool, but now it's just business, so I won't be able to enjoy it like I want to.
So you mentioned Steve Irwin, because that guy took a lot of risks. He would get out there with all the wildlife and all the creatures and everything like that. I mean, this is something with a UFC fighter. I mean, you're going out there one-on-one. You're really getting into what is the passion for you to do something like this?
Yeah, I want to go out there, compete, and I want to win on a world stage for all my small town family and friends. You know, I'm from a really small town, and I don't think there's been a lot of fighters out of there, and I want to be the one that goes far and brings something really home to be proud of for everyone I love. And for myself, really what it comes down to is I'm a selfish individual, and I want to get this for me. I want to prove something to myself and learn about what's inside me. So I'm really excited to see what happens. What is inside you? Just the desire to win, you know. I was really small and skinny, and I wasn't very athletic as a kid, and I proved to myself, one, that I can make myself athletic, and that if you believe in whatever you do, if I wanted to go be a wingsuit flight guy where I jump off a mountain on a wingsuit, I could do it. If I wanted to be an astronaut, I could do it. If I want to be a UFC fighter, I can do it. And I've already gotten into the UFC, but I'm 0-1 in a seizure right now in the UFC, so that's not acceptable. It's time to go out there and you know, make something happen that people will want to remember.
What have you learned from that experience already that you've had in UFC? Because you mentioned you're 0-1, but this is still new as far as the UFC goes for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I learned a little more about the mindset I need to have going into the fight. I was literally not nervous at all. I felt great. I remember the last thing I said before I stepped in the cage was "about damn time." Those 3 words. I mean, I felt great, but you got to go in there with a do-or-die mindset, not a mindset that, oh, this is the first of many and it's going to be a great experience and this is going to be my first knockout win or submission win and then I got 50 more after. It could be your last time. You could go out there and get a bonus and then get in a car accident on the way home. So you got to go out there with a do-or-die mentality, and that keeps your focus sharp. I learned some technical mistakes. I learned some things I did right, some things I did wrong, and I really reaffirmed what I already knew, and that's that I needed to go to 85. And whether I lost or not, I was going to 85 either way, and that just reaffirmed that decision.
Do you watch the tape then afterwards, and how much do you learn from watching off a tape?
Yeah, I definitely watch the tape. I go back and watch, still to this day, I watch wins from 6 years ago just to remember certain things that I still need to do. You don't want to forget what you do that works, and you also you want to look at what you do that doesn't work and your bad habits. And what happened last fight, I got caught with a bad habit I've had, and since that fight I've just drilled that over and over again. And I don't get too caught up on it. I just make sure I take note of it so my instincts are better habits next time.
You're a local guy from Florence, South Carolina. That's your local base, your hometown. That's a small town near Darlington County. You know, the big thing there is the Darlington 500 races. Were you a big race fan growing up, or that wasn't your thing?
No, not too much my thing. I definitely don't dislike any of it. It just never caught my attention. Yeah, Florence is racing, football, baseball, a lot of good team sports, and a lot of country stuff, which I love. But there's not a lot of martial arts there. At least now that's actually becoming. There's a good jiu-jitsu school there. There's a lot of CrossFits there. Fitness is becoming something that's really enjoyed there, but it wasn't when I was coming up. So it was a matter of literally going out into the woods or going to a friend's house 10 exits up the interstate and training in his extra spare bedroom. So I really had to hunt it out when I was there, which made me hungry. Every weekend it wasn't go out and party with my high school friends. It was go to a different town to find training somewhere nearby.
When you were growing up, you played a little bit of soccer. But soccer, even though you were good at it, really wasn't your thing when you were youth as far as the mentality of it. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, like I don't like to relinquish control. I still remember this day. We played a game at Francis Marion University, a little elementary school game. We played against an older team, and I think we lost. I still remember we lost 8-3. I scored all 3 goals, highlight reel goals, but my team couldn't carry their own weight, And I didn't like relinquishing that responsibility. If I lose, I'm responsible for it in this sport. If I win, I'm responsible for it. And obviously you got your coaches and your teammates that are a huge part of it, but at the end of the day, it's you out there making the moves happen. So I just like taking responsibility. That's my favorite thing about an individual sport.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to West Florence High School.
What was it like for you as a high school kid? You mentioned that you were training a lot during high school.
Yeah. First half of high school, I was just really small, really young, and just surfing a lot, skipping school. I did okay in school, but just hanging out with friends. I was more focused on social life, and then just surfing was it. But there wasn't a beach super close by, so I couldn't really dive into that the way I would have.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach was like 3 hours away, 2 hours away.
If I lived at the beach, I would have been, part-time mixed martial artist, full-time surfer. Now it's the opposite way around. But yeah, and then the second half of high school, I hit all my friends remember, I hit a 6-inch growth spurt in about 7-month time. And during that time, I guess my testosterone was up because I started lifting, just having the feel to lift, and I felt strong, so I found martial arts here and there and really just slowly became addicted to it. It was something I really could grasp and enjoy.
Now, I know obviously UFC fighter, you're training, you're putting the time in. Do you find any time to surf? You're in South Florida.
Yeah, in between fights, I find waves. Now is the season. There's been waves the past week, and all my buddies are going out surfing. And even my strength and conditioning coach, we went to Costa Rica together. He's surfing, and I'm just sitting here on the sidelines watching, or just sitting in the waist-deep water in the ocean with my puppies. I'm going crazy, but after this fight, we'll get a victory session in.
And also with the training that you put in there, how do you get from getting involved in this sport? How do you get from training there and then becoming a MMA fighter?
It's one step at a time. One, you really have to have the desire. I've seen a lot of people that think they want to do it. They meet 1 or 2 challenges and it just throws them off, and I don't think that makes them a quitter. I just think they're not in the right sport. I think it's with anything. If you want to do photography, you got to start one step at a time. You got to go pick up a camera, even a disposable one. So you start, you go to a small gym, you train with this guy. Slowly but surely you hear, oh, there's a group of guys that train over there, you go train with those guys. And before you know it, in 2 years, through all the connections you've made, you're training at 8 different small gyms and locations all around the Carolinas. And then my coach, who back in South Carolina, who's like a mentor, he ended up saying, hey man, if you really want to do this, when you turn 18, you want to fight, let's go to American Top Team. They have a big seminar. So it was Chuck Liddell, Ricardo Laborio, Matt Linland, big seminar down here. It was like 200 people here. We came down right before I turned 18. It was the same feeling that you want to get when you go to a college you like. Sometimes I walked into universities and just, they didn't strike me the way I wanted. And when I came in here, my eyes were wide open. Mike Brown was at the front desk, and he had just knocked out Uriah the week before and won the WEC title, and now he's going to be in my corner in Australia. He's a good friend. So, you just take one step at a time and be patient. Don't know your place. If you're a beginner, know you're a beginner, but that doesn't mean not to be hungry. So just step by step. It took me 2 years, 3 amateur fights I got down here. Trained with Cole and Micah Miller and worked on my skill as an amateur. 3 more amateur fights here, and when I turned pro, I signed my contract with the gym, and it's been smooth sailing ever since.
Your passion and desire, do you think it helped you that being from Florence, South Carolina, there wasn't much up there at the time and made you work harder because you weren't one of these high-profile people coming into this?
Yeah, it shows, anybody can do something when they have all the tools right there, And that's not to say that there's not different ways to show your drive and hunger, but if you're filthy rich and right next to American Top Team or Alliance or TriStar, one of these big gyms, and you just walk in and you're star-studded, it doesn't really test your desire. But when you're in, literally, my gym was the Florence Fight Farm, the other one was Spartan's Quest, but for a while it was just a spare bedroom, and then it became a little garage-sized shed in the guy's yard. So when you're going to those type of training sessions, and I wasn't out there just training lightly. I was probably doing a lot of things wrong compared to high-level guys, but I was training my ass off. My workouts were just as hard as the workouts here. So I wasn't training as smart, but I was still training hard with the little means that I had.
Well, we know obviously the goal is to win. What can you say to people, what can you say to fans about this big event coming up, this UFC 193, November 14th? You're going to be on the card, you're there. Sell it for us. Yeah, man.
Number one, you got Ronda Rousey. She sells herself. 2, it's going to be the biggest UFC event in history. It's the first one they've ever had in a stadium. First event in Melbourne in that part of Australia. I think it's called Victoria, the state itself. But I mean, it's never going to be this big again. I would guess between tailgaters, people in the event, people working the event, fighters, VIPs, you'll have 80,000 people there, plus the entire world watching. And I'll tell you this, I'm only the third fight of the night. Get there for the first, because I've never, even my losses, I've never had a boring fight. You will never see me not going for a finish. I mean, I'm do or die. So you got the third fight of the night, is probably going to be a barn burner, could be a main event. Give me 3 fights. Give me 3 more fights at middleweight in the UFC, and I'll be a main event fighter, and you'll be glad you watched me when I got my first win on the third fight of the night.
All the best. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.